Alrighty then, so Young Justice was back again this week with a brand new episode entitled Quiet Conversation. I'm Cape Joel, and this is the video series where I take a closer look at the episodes that were, give my thoughts, and hunt down any Easter eggs that catch my eye. And with that all out of the way, let's get to it, shall we? So, after multiple episodes of being put on the back burner, Victor Stone's Cyborg takes center stage once again. It seems like everyone on the team minus Forager just kind of forgot that he existed, and they picked the worst time to do so because he's fighting a losing battle against the father box tech in his system. And if this isn't remedied soon, he'll lose all of his humanity and become a solely mechanical being. The only person in the universe we discover who might very well be able to help Vic turns out to be Metron, owner of the Mobius chair and a major player in Jack Kirby's New Gods in the Fourth World, as well as the show tells us the progenitor of all father box and mother box tech. Which, to be fair, is a bit of a departure from the comic book source material, where it was Haimon and Mortallo who did the respective creating, but no one remembers those characters, and in its excuse to get Metron into the show, which, you know, I'm fine with. Superboy, who feels like he's been absent for a good chunk of the show at this point, decides to lead the charge and take Black Lightning and Forager on a quest to find Metron, which makes up the A side of an episode that ended up being absolutely jam-packed with side plots. Like, for example, where did Violet go? Well, it would seem that facing down their impending demise, Violet has opted to search for the family of Gabrielle Dow so that they might have some manner of closure involving her death. Needless to say, it's a lot to explain to the family what exactly happened, and they take it pretty rough. But ultimately, they do thank Violet for not forgetting about them in their time of need. Also, if Violet's days are indeed numbered, then maybe Violet should take this lesson about loss to heart and spend more time with Violet's new extended family. And then we have the hardest working C-plot that actually manages to embody the title Quiet Conversation better than just about anything else. Miss Martian, proving to actually be very, very good at her day job as a youth counselor, tries to get through to the troubled Harper Row after the whole booze and gun incident from a few episodes back. It will come as no surprise to anyone that the girl's home life is not great and very abusive, not just for her, but for her brother Cullen, who also gets name-dropped here. It's interesting to see this take on Harper Row, considering that when she showed up in the comics, she was already an adult and her brother were living on their own. I guess this is just the sort of material you can tap when you do a younger version. It's also refreshing to see Miss Martian strive so hard to do good and be a hero, even not when wearing a costume. I imagine this kind of subject matter is going to hit close to home for a lot of people out there, and this episode even comes complete with a little bumper for the National Domestic Abuse Hotline, because hey, they showed it at the end of the episode, I'm going to show it here right now. Now, back with Superboy on the hunt for Metron, our heroes end up coming face to face with Superman, who's having a battle not too far away from the Source Wall, one of the most important locations in all of DC Comics. Superman and Superboy get to fight side by side, and it's a nice little reminder of just how far these two characters have come since their meeting in Season 1, considering themselves to be true brothers now. Connor even wants Clark to be the best man at his upcoming wedding. Now, finding Metron turns out to be the easy part. Actually getting him to help is the hard part. Metron is one of those all-powerful, all-knowing cosmic being types who claims to be above the whole human conception of right and wrong. He basically just wants to watch Vic die because he thinks it would be educational. This means that the team has to act fast and pick a fight with a guy who, had he not been blindsided, could probably easily have roasted them all. Vic is saved, and his father box is completely purged from his body, meaning that he might actually be free now to make his own choices about being a hero or whatever. He even reconciles with his father, who came to help him in his time of need, despite his son's protest. It's not exactly the best version of this story we've seen, especially so close to the cyborg origin from Doom Patrol, but you know what, I'll take it. Now, as I mentioned, that was all the A plot line, but I feel like what people really want to know is my thoughts on the Calder Aquaman stuff. You see, in an attempt to help that white-haired girl from a few episodes back, who refuses to give her name, but who, for the purposes of this video, I'm going to keep calling Dolphin until they tell me otherwise. Calder ends up taking this mystery girl to Atlantis, where she will be more free to come to terms with her new meta changes and be around people more like herself. It also gives us a nice chance to see how Atlantis is faring with King Arthur at at the helm 24/7, and the answer is pretty good. Why even word of the Outsiders' victories have reached the halls of Atlantis. Too bad Calder is conflicted, as he knows the Outsiders' success have all been manipulated by the Justice League, including himself, behind the scenes. He hates living the lie, and Dolphin can see plain as day just how hurt he is. Though, as becomes quickly apparent by the end, perhaps the Outsider stuff isn't the only secret that Calder is keeping in right now that's causing him strife. Out of the blue, too, we also get to meet Calder's parents this episode, or more than likely his adopted parents, seeing as Black Manta is his father and his mom doesn't look like how she does in the comics. But they also offhandedly mention San Diego, which is no doubt a clear reference to the Aquaman story Sub Diego, wherein the city floods and a bunch of regular people become water breathers. Maybe it's a fun reference, maybe it's some light retconning. But the big takeaway that has absolutely everyone buzzing today was Calder revealing his sexuality. Granted, it was in a still frame, and if they're gonna try and do more LGBT storylines, I really wish that they would, try and give this stuff more screen time to evolve. I mean, it looked like he was trying to keep it all on the down low. Does the team know about him? And if not, why not? Now, for some people, this is going to feel like a from left field turn, but in reality, it actually makes perfect sense if you read the comics because, well, Jackson Hyde wasn't straight in the original comics either, but who's Jackson Hyde? A bunch of you are all now probably saying, oh man, I guess this topic was a long time coming, but let's try and tackle the occasional adaptational discontinuity surrounding Aqualad, shall we? You see, Jackson Hyde was Aqualad's surface name when he was created for the storyline Brightest Day in 2010. There, he was an out gay man. The same year Young Justice Season 1 came out, and while the character was similar in a lot of ways, he also had some changes done to him, like ditching the dreads in exchange for a blonde buzz cut. The TV show Aqualad was also never called by his surface name, and Jackson Hyde would actually disappear in the comics following New 52, taking all the comics back to zero. I think this means that the writers felt more confident in kind of taking Aqualad in the direction that they wanted to take him into because there was nothing new to adapt for him for a very long time. But since Young Justice was off TV, Aqualad became incredibly popular, and because of that, they brought Jackson Hyde back into the Ben Percy Teen Titan comics, where he basically started looking like his TV counterpart, complete with the buzz cut. He was also still an out gay man in the comics too, because, well, that is what had been established previously. And now it would look like the TV show version of Aqualad has caught up to the comics version, although maybe with some changes there. Calder did seem to like Tula in the first couple seasons, but lots of gay people have hetero relationships before truly finding themselves. On Twitter, show creator Greg Wiseman has been saying that Calder is actually pansexual, or at least that's the way they thought of him in the writer's room. The jury is still out for now, but hey, there it is, hope you learned something. Wow, ended up talking way longer than I thought about an episode that I thought was a little disjointed, but hey, quiet conversation, it was okay. I feel like it wasn't greater than the sum of its parts. I did like getting to see Cyborg become more active as a character, and I hope this means he'll be sticking around and they can bring him back. The Megan Harper stuff dealt with some very heavy, very serious subject matter in a very respectful adult way. I wanted to revisit Atlantis and that cast of characters for a long time, and I got my wish this episode. I also get the feeling people are going to be talking about Calder a lot in the weeks to come, which is fitting because from what I understand, he's actually just made a comeback in the current Kelly Sue DeConnick Aquaman book, so good for him, good for that book, and that'll just about do it for me, everybody. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I will be back again next week.